effectively, we're creating a society where there is real work that needs to be done, but you're looking after the people within your tent, within your community. It's all about developing a system of complete trust.
But we tend to think of that immigration element as people crossing international borders. But actually, if you look at the southeast of England, there's a large number of people like me who are internal migrants who've moved from places like Manchester, Liverpool, Sheffield, Newcastle, Belfast, or wherever, to the southeast of England, and actually have been divided from their families as well.
These stories are real, and the ideas are totally pragmatic. So I think it's going to be exciting to take these old ideas and actually turn them and see how they really lead to a different way of organising innovation, the business, and organising the state and government.
The Manna Journey is the catalyst for change in our world. It's a consistent source of truth for the next generation and current leaders. Our mission is to change the world by reframing our current governance, by using ancient wisdom to solve modern problems, and by shaping innovative new businesses to have a culture of pursuit of purpose.
So we've looked at all the problems that exist in our modern society and how people feel so disaffected, and people are coming in to take jobs that maybe local people would do, but they just can't afford to because of the benefit system. How does the Manna system change all of this?
Yeah, so the Manna system is designed to build trust. So I think what we would accept that the current system, we don't trust anybody really. Because we don't trust the state because it's inefficient and it doesn't look after me, and I don't understand and it takes power away from me. And we don't trust the market because prices increase, and as price increases, we have migrants that come in and take jobs and take services. So what's completely missing is a lack of trust in anybody. And what we need to do, and what the Manna's core purpose is to rebuild a society where there is trust, where people know that their needs are going to be met. So the starting point is the food is provided every single day, and you take what you need, which is enough food for your family and to meet all the needs. But then at the end of the day, it actually decays, and the next day you'll start till you get.
Yeah.
Which means you don't need to hoard overnight, because you know that your needs are going to be met the next day.
Yeah.
And you can trust the system to actually provide for you. So what we need to build is a system where you know your needs are going to be catered for, and that's what we don't have today, because as we've already mentioned, migrant workers are imported because we leave it to individuals who are able to look after their own interests and just continue to produce more and more bricks in their own interest, and therefore exploit everybody effectively. So the workers are being paid less than they need, their needs are not being met, that the local jobs are not being given to the local people. So we have to start to change that into a model that actually builds community, that builds trust, so effectively the Manna falls every single day, and you use it to look after the needs of all those in your tent, so to speak, and that involves work. It's actually employment as well, because look carefully, that the Manna was not miraculously edible. You had to process it. You had to, and if you look carefully also at the shoes and the clothes, those had to be produced and worked. So effectively, we're creating a society where there is real work that needs to be done, but you're looking after the people within your tent, within your community, and meeting all of their needs, such that people can start trusting each other. So you're not leaving it to people to say, I'm going to take the labour for where it suits me to make most money for myself to produce more bricks, or I'm going to pay people for doing nothing. It's all about developing a system of complete trust.
And the other thing is, the Manna is all about concentric circles, isn't it? So, your family would be looked after first, next, I suppose, your neighbours, your community, and it goes out further and further and further. So you end up in a situation where you're really prioritising how to assist each other, and that brings it back to such a local level.
Well, it's when you're focused on all the needs of the people in your tent, which includes your family, community, that becomes your purpose. Of course, there's also the limit to consumption with the Manna, because of course you're only consuming what you need, and therefore you're protecting the environment at the same time and not over-consuming. But you're looking after your local community. That's where your priority lies, and that's where your purpose lies. And it's a different focus. You're focusing on the needs of family and community, and therefore you organise society in that way. And by creating a system which really looks at money and starts to say, okay, we are going to pay you for the work that you do today, and then you're going to pay for the needs that you have today. What you start doing is focusing on the needs of every person from the beginning. So your purpose is to be, okay, I've got money, but I'm going to use that to ensure that the needs of my local community are being met. And if you're not, it's not my needs. It's not me to make this fictitious number, which is profit, which is bricks, which are meaningless. It's actually food and clothing and housing to the people that you actually need.
But it feels like what you're doing is you're taking what you earn and saying to yourself, I want to invest in this community. So what I'm doing is building up the community. So if, we said this a second ago, but if you were unemployed, then yes, okay, I would support you, but you might, sweep the local streets or something like that.
Yeah.
But it feels like the whole community is being built by this, rather than it just being, rather than it just going on tax and us not necessarily understanding.
So what you're saying is that the resources are being used to build community, which will care for and look after everybody within that community, whether it's young or old or people who are ill. So you're actually focusing on the needs of your family and concentric circles in the community and the nation, and that's where the efforts are focused on, and that builds relationships. You're building relationships which are meaningful, and you're therefore looking at people not as things, not as mechanisms for making more money for you. So everything in our world is commoditized. So we look at things, the people, at who can make me more money by do the same job time and time again.
Absolutely.
To okay, I've got my family, I've got my parents, my grandparents that need to be looked after. I've got educational issues, I've got healthcare issues, I've got construction issues. How can we make sure that all the relationships are healthy and are meeting everybody's requirements within the system, and also in such a way that we can trust each other, and therefore ensure that if I don't need to hoard lots and lots of stuff, because it's all about relationships and everybody's focused on meeting needs. Tomorrow, if we're retired, I lose my job, someone else can help me to find a meaningful job, and that means that you're not worried about being unemployed, or you're not worried about not being delivered a service, because effectively everyone's working together.
I was about to say that it's got security and it's got flexibility, hasn't it? Because suddenly, if I was unemployed tomorrow and under the Manna economy, you would turn to me and say, okay, I'll support you, there's no problem with that, but equally, I want you to come out and do whatever it is that needs to be done in the community. Now, actually, that might not be the job you previously did, but at least you're doing something, and we're all rubbing together, and suddenly you know who you're supporting, and they're supporting you back.
And we all live in a community. We know what needs to be done. We know if there's a need for a school or hospital or some other form of service. We're close to each other. We're doing it with our hands. We're seeing people. It's not a distant, centralized, large organization, whether it's the state or it's a large company that is not distant, doesn't understand the local problems, doesn't understand the local needs of the local people, and doesn't care about them, to be honest with you. Whereas this is creating localized relationships around the city, which are meaningful and purposeful, and we start to rebuild based on people's relationships rather than transactional relationships that people are distant.
Does this give you an opportunity for communities to invest in things that are much more individualized than they may want. I don't know, it might be that one particular area wants a town crier, I don't know, or another area wants more teachers, or another area wants...
No, absolutely. Of course, it starts to focus on what people need, and people love music, people love being entertained. So there's all of these creative skills are required, and you start to say, 1 minute, wouldn't it be nice if we had a choir or an orchestra?
Yes.
And those aesthetically pleasing things that to the eye and to the mind will start to be developed, because you're working together to form community, to look after each other, and relationships, healthy relationships to develop, and trust develops, and the basic assumptions of society change away from distant, remote concepts of just producing bricks in whatever way you can, to actually building a community where you trust each other and effectively people live meaningful lives.
The other thing that you're talking about with the Manna Society, which is just inherent in the localism, in looking after each other, is that different communities will be different, reflecting the needs of those communities. So it won't be a one-size-fits-all type of thing.
Okay, people might be saying, well, Philip, you're talking about discriminating against the migrants and it's not fair to them. But the answer is, it is fair to them, and the Bible is clear. You have to love the migrant, but loving the migrant doesn't involve taking him away from his family in a community where he doesn't understand the language, doesn't wear the clothes, is not comfortable, and giving him a job which is boring and meaningless.
Yeah.
It's not loving him either. It doesn't love anybody. So the system is, there is a role when you get society right for loving the migrant, but that's educating the migrants, showing them a beautiful system that does care, and then they can take that knowledge back to their own community and change their own community. But the idea of bringing migrants in and simply giving them land, giving them property, isn't biblical. The land was divided up amongst the families, and therefore a migrant would not be able to acquire land. And that's not nasty. That's because the system is beautifully trying to educate them into understand how the system works, rather than actually absorbing them to society where they haven't got their family and they end up not living a meaningful life.
But we tend to think of that immigration element as people crossing international borders. But actually, if you look at the southeast of England, there's a large number of people like me who are internal migrants who've moved from places like Manchester, Liverpool, Sheffield, Newcastle, Belfast, or wherever, to the southeast of England, and actually been divided from their families as well. And so you just wonder whether...
The same point is the problem doesn't have to be this, because there's no focus on localism, on relationships, on people, on actually seeing and doing with the local community. We've lost the focus, and that's the issue with levelling up, where place doesn't matter. There is no love of where you live, making it beautiful, because the relationships are so distant. The people that make decisions in Whitehall, that on actually local, or if it's in American, whatever, where the businesses are being run and by people who are distant from a different country, who don't understand the local culture, you're not actually going to ever start to build beautiful towns with beautiful relationships, because everything is too centralized and distant. You have to start localizing, rebuilding. But it's not just, it's a rethinking of society. It's not a tweak. This is effectively rethinking in a simple way. But
it feels to me to be a much more natural state of humanity, to say that you live within your own area, you live within your own family, you look after your own family, then you look after your own community, and so on and so forth, rather than saying that everything's faceless, everything is the same. There's no individuality. There's no difference from place to place.
Yeah, I think we want relationships. We want to love people. We don't want to hate people. We don't want to compete. We may be ambitious. We don't want to naturally fight and kill. That's not the way we are. But we've evolved a society which is unnatural, where
we respect the kind of, I don't know if you see the film Wall Street, the Gordon Gekko type people, and Gordon Gekko is a hate-filled person because his father had died as a result of having a rubbish job. But you were talking a second ago about how we build a more beautiful society, and I think that means both physically and emotionally. But I do think that this will be better for the environment, less transportation involved, and people work locally, and less immigration.
Absolutely right. Yeah, there's no question. the environment doesn't feature in the way we make choices.
No.
It's no then people, neither people nor the environment nor nature are actually part of the system. All that you're doing is making bricks. You're just producing more and more money, which is a meaningless number.
What you're talking about with the Manna economy is if you're building a community, if you're literally making your area nicer by painting something, that makes it less important for you to get onto Amazon and buy some old junk you didn't need. So you get both a better built environment and it's better for the environment in general.
But if you're living in a place that you value with people that you love, you're naturally going to pretend. You're not going to throw litter out of the car window onto the street. You're not going to have more cars than you need because you're concerned with your own environment and the pollution and the disruption of the environment and the way we're farming, the way everything becomes. It's not forced upon you. It's not. It's actually natural because we're building relationships where we're thinking about each other and we're thinking about the environment naturally because that's the way the whole society works.
You're talking about in the Manna economy, moving away from obsessing about my bank account to obsessing with my community.
And the environment, where I live, the place I live, the people I live with, and that's what you obsess with, and that is a completely different model.
Absolutely.
So having had experience of trying to convert Cordon into social enterprise, and then looking at the Bible at real practical advice via the Manna story, to how to actually envisage and build a completely new narrative and a new story, we decided to put together the Manna Journey, which is a platform which deals with three things. First of all, it actually looks at the wisdom of the Bible and explains how from the text we can actually understand what the actual model of how society should operate. That's the biblical studies. Then it takes us into the world of how do we operate our businesses in an innovative and a completely different way. This is moving on to the world that I've now moved into, which is a completely new set of businesses that I am involved in alongside a partner, Gary Klopfenstein, based in Chicago. And these are businesses that are game-changing. They're world-class businesses. Gary is a Christian who runs his businesses based on the Manna model. He cares for people. He is looking after people. He's looking after the planet. And the Manna Journey innovation section will look at a different way of operating those businesses with a view to looking after people, looking after nature. And it's going to be exciting because it's different and it's a really totally revolutionary way of looking at the whole of the world business. And the third as part of the platform will be how do we govern society in a way based on the wisdom. The current system of complex ideas and centralized control has to make way for a different, gentler, kinder distributed model, and the governance section of the website will deal with that. So those are the three different pillars of the Manna Journey platform.
So the Manna Journey platform is going to have, it's got three pillars: wisdom, innovation, and governance. So I suppose wisdom is the Bible. How does that impact on what we're doing?
So the wisdom, I think, is actually the platform, the basic set of ideas on which all of this is supported. And I think we live in a world where there is no truth. And these stories are real and the ideas are totally pragmatic. So I think it's going to be exciting to take these old ideas and actually turn them and see how they really lead to a different way of organising innovation in the business and organising the state and governance. And
you're going to be able to read on the website and articles on the website and all sorts of things that bring this platform together. But centrally, it's about taking this 3,500-year-old gift from God, which is the Bible, and saying, this is what we can do with it today. This is our more modern understanding. This is our practical application of it.
So here are practical business people. I'm a businessman, Gary's a businessman, both successful, fortunately, in our own rights, and how this old text full of ideas could actually change the way the world operates. And to watch that journey, to see how we experiment, we'll make mistakes, but the will is there, and these ideas are world class. So we will start to build a new narrative based on the ancient wisdom. And we'd love you to join us on that journey to see how these ideas evolve and how we turn these ideas into practical solutions.
So you and Gary Clockford are the two leading on the innovation side of it for now, but obviously more people will come on board as you go along. You come from quite different backgrounds, but you've come together to run businesses in a biblical way.
Absolutely right. So both of us are practical, pragmatic. Gary is an absolute genius. He's paternalistic. People love working for him. And his background is the Christian community, and but he's a pragmatist. He's found a way of finding lots of world-class businesses from the state labs in America and from the universities that are not currently being found, and he will over the years turn them into huge successful.
So he's literally founding new companies based on innovation and turning it into something that can be run in a way that benefits society, not just shareholders.
It's a complete there are huge numbers of these ideas that we're not currently finding. So he finds them. They're not, because the system that we're operating, the best ideas that are left and don't actually get found. So he will find them. And there'll be others that other people will be able to say. It's not just those ideas, because there are lots of them that he doesn't actually take up because they don't fit his criteria. So there'll be opportunities for other people to develop those ideas. But it's going to look at how you actually innovate in a different way, and how you take opportunities from the ground and commercialize them, and start to look after people and to look after society and to build ideas based on the Manna Journey.
And it ceases to be a race to the bottom, because when you're trying to benefit the community, when you're trying to benefit society, when you're trying to benefit people and the environment, rather than just serving a spreadsheet, you don't race to the bottom, you don't cut corners.
No, let's be clear. This is, neither Gary nor I are greedy, but we are very ambitious. We want to look after people, we want to look after the planet. We see ourselves as trustees, which is an important concept. So the better we look after other people, the better we look after the planet, the more people will entrust us with resources to do more and more. And hopefully people start to see this. There are other ways of actually running organizations in an innovative way.
Now, on governance, which is the third pillar, obviously this is the Manna is a completely different thing, isn't it? Because it doesn't say that you want to organise things in a top-down way anymore. It's much more bottom-up.
Absolutely right. The model is the opposite of the Egyptian pharaohic model, where it's top-down command and control, with a king who's governing society from the top down and making all the choices in the centre, and everyone's a slave, to a completely distributed model, which is local governance without being forced to do things. To the key changes is we don't want to force people to behave in a certain way, because as soon as you for top-down command and control forces in a Manna economy, you actually don't force anybody to do things. It flows as a part of natural. So there's no force and no judgment. We mustn't be judgmental. We've got to start allowing people to make their own decisions. So the governance model, I think, has to change. It's not working. You look at whether it's communism or capitalism, neither of them are currently working. We have to move to a distributed model, which is closer to capitalism in the sense it's not about the centralized state where with taxation, but the big change is trusteeship. So people are looking after the resources that are allocated to them, but for the sake of people and the sake of planet. It's not just for their own family. They're looking as trustees, they're looking at how they can benefit the society at large. It's a different model.